How can you burr a fire? Well, this is how we burr a fire, right? If I rent this regularly, probably get $12.50 a month for it, and I've run the numbers on an Airbnb model. Airbnb, this should actually make over $30,000 a year. So what happened here was this property, same height, but the upper unit was a really steep pitched roof, right? So we could only fit like a 1 bedroom in between the walls because there was like 4 feet of wasted space all the way around the unit. So what we decided to do is flatten it out, raise it up, keep the same height of the roof, which the city likes, and now we turn that 1 bedroom into a 3 bedroom.
Oh, wow.
The back here used to be a small, again, 450 square foot 1 bedroom. And I just said, okay, well, I don't know how much could we build back here, right? So we're going back 10 feet, over 5 feet, right up against the property line. So this is going to be a really big 2 bedroom unit.
What happens when your property burns down? Well, that's what we're going to be covering in today's video. If you remember last year, we caught up with Kory MacKinnon and he broke down for us how his triplex burned down. Well, he's rebuilt it now, so we're going to go check out the finished product, but we're also going to dive into some more subject matter around how does that insurance process work. There's a lot of different things that we're going to cover in today's video, but again, this is a lot of people's worst case scenario with real estate investing. We're going to dive deep into it. Thanks again to Kory MacKinnon for taking the time, and let's check it out.
And so, did you mention, like, how did the fire actually start? Was it just a tenant? Or?
It was electrical. Oh. So even though the wiring had been upgraded in this house, there was still a couple odd runs of knob and tube, and it was like the coldest day of the year, so I don't know if that had something to do about it. Okay. But something caught, and the fire actually started right over here. Basically where the door is for this unit, the fire started up there in the attic. Okay. So still able to get insurance claim money on it, which was awesome, and we'll show you what we're doing on the main floor. So I think they're drywalling upstairs. Hello. How's it going? I'm the homeowner. Yeah, just seeing how things are going. All right, so pretty much keeping the footprint of this unit the same. Funny, that back unit that we're doing the addition on, that washroom actually stole some square footage from this unit, so we got rid of that. And oh, they still got their Christmas stuff on. Yeah, so this used to be a set of stairs. So the main floor used to be able to get down into the downstairs. That's where we used to have coin laundry, but it was a much better use of space just to like floor over that. They have a bigger laundry room and a bathroom now, and we figured out a way to get in-suite laundry in everybody's unit. I mean, at the end of the day, you only need like 30 to 36 inches to get in-suite laundry. So now this was all boxed in, so this used to be, like back in the day, they used to really build things like really compartmentalized. This is the bedroom, this is the dining room, this is the kitchen, right? So we spent the extra money to put a beam in here, open this up, and you know, people really aren't like sitting down in a dining room anymore to like eat, so we just put a nice countertop, nice bar type countertop in the kitchen. It's open concept, and they can either put their TV here or over there or over here. So we always want to make sure we have enough plugs in places where people might want them. These are all the things you got to think about ahead of time. That window there, we had to put glass block in. Again, another fire code thing that if there was a fire there, there's a wooden staircase, and that would put the staircase on fire. So we had to use a fire rated material for the window. They wanted us to actually like close it up. I was like, is there not another option? So don't be afraid to like ask, like, is there another option? You know, you guys will actually see in the unit upstairs, they actually wanted us to put a window in a really weird area, and we just said, like, is there another option? Could the window in the door work for like the natural light in the living room? And they're like, yeah, actually that would work. I'm like, okay, you work for the city, like, can't you just give us options instead of just trying to like kibosh and say no all the time? So now this layout here, we were able to rejig the room sizes and stuff because that back unit used to actually come into this unit like 5 feet. So now we basically just cut that off and said, okay, we're going to keep everything totally straight, and that way we gain 5 more feet back for all the closets and bedroom sizes in this unit here, because this bedroom used to have no closet. And then that bedroom was had a closet, but it was also small. So all the bedrooms here are like 12 by 12, and they're a good size, good closet space, and great bathroom. You guys can go check it out. They got their own laundry room, cabinets, nice features in the bathroom there, and just little things, right? If you follow along. We don't go crazy with light fixtures and stuff, but unless it's going to count or unless it's going to matter, like these are nice, right? These are like $100 from Home Depot. But people eat up this kind of stuff, so strategically spend where it's going to make sense during your renos. We don't always go with like high-end granite countertops, but it's better than off the shelf. We paid a little bit extra for this one, and just basic fixtures. You don't need fancy stuff when you're renting to students. So, but other things like this tile here, we got a great deal on this tile, $1.25 a square foot. In the other room, that was vinyl plank flooring. It wears really well, and it still has that high-end look, and we have nice paint colors and stuff throughout the unit. So this is what we did. So some of the things that we do on our rentals, we like using luxury vinyl plank flooring now that it's at the third or fourth generation of that flooring. It holds up really well. I've actually tried some of the first generations. I wasn't very happy with it. But now, when you're choosing vinyl plank flooring, make sure that you ask, does this have like the stone core? Okay, that's I guess the question to ask. So we're getting this stuff for about $2 to $2.25 a square foot. Wears really well, waterproof. You don't have to worry about it, and it saves you way over getting like wood. And even engineered wood is very expensive, or tile. Countertops. We have a countertop provider in town. So this is like considered a higher grade countertop because of the design on it. Because it looks cooler, they can charge you more. And I've just figured, you know what, sure, let's spend $100 and get one of the more popular designs versus like one of the 4 colors you get from Home Depot. So that's something I don't mind spending it. Like $100 bills is way better than $500 to $1,000 bills in my mind. Our cabinets here, we get them from Cutchin Kitchen here in London. So they're huge suppliers. I didn't realize how big they were until I got a quote for these kitchens, and I said, can you go back? I don't know if I need them this high. Those are 42-inch cabinets. What if we went down to 36-inch cabinets? That was on a Thursday or a Friday. They called me on Monday and said, all your kitchens are done. I was like, what do you mean they're done? Like, I didn't even approve the quote. And they're like, yeah, come on out. We'll figure out the whole price difference thing. We'll eat a bit of it. We just put it in production. They have a 106,000 square foot facility. It's like the size of multiple football fields. They do work for all of York developments and hospitals, and they just rip through stuff really quickly. And they do false cabinets. So these here on the back, lots of times you pay like huge dollars to get these islands made, but really it's just regular base cabinets, and there's some false cabinets up here. So for a few $100 of like false cabinets, you get this whole island effect. Okay. Sometimes we actually put like legit cabinets on the other side if we're like lacking cabinet space. We'll give them cabinet space on the other side too. The one thing that I do spend a little bit extra on is the soft close drawers. I find that that's good value, especially when it comes to utensil drawers. People will like load up their utensil drawers with like 5 to 10 pounds worth of things, and then they wonder why the whole door gets ripped off. So to me, it's worth it just to spend $20 a door and drawer. People love it. I'm just like, during a walkthrough, I'm like, yeah, and there's soft close, and IKEA used to have commercials about that. Here's our backsplash tile. So this is like literally, I think, $2 to $3 at Home Depot. Very, very reasonable to install. Again, used appliances that we picked up here. I think literally like for the washer, dryer, dishwasher, fridge, stove, everything, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're about $500 to $600 into this one here. And you just got to keep your ears to the ground, right? To me, appliances are something that, there's 2 schools of thought. Some people say, no, I only buy new appliances. I'm kind of at the school of thought where I've bought my share of new appliances, and I'm like, I know what to look for in appliances. I know what lightly used is. I know what good homes are when they're coming from. If something does break, like a simple stove like this, not super expensive. But when they have a lot of the computers and things like that, that's when it gets expensive. So we literally are getting appliances for $100 to $200 each, and easy to install, and I'm okay with that. It kind of blends in. I mean, this is not a new stove, but everything else looks nice, and that kind of works. So paint colors. This is called Swirling Smoke. Some people use Revere Pewter from Benjamin Moore. I find that's a little bit darker, but to me it's like a chameleon color. It goes with like blacks and grays and beiges, and it just works. It's not too dark, it's not too light. It hides dirt pretty well. That's one of the colors we use. And simplifying and streamlining things, if you have the same color trim paint, same color ceiling paint, same color kind of wall paint, then it doesn't matter what property you're at, what time you're touching it up at, you just shake up the can, crack it open, touch it up, great, we're off to the races again. So those are some of the things that we do. We do like to do window coverings. I don't like when my tenants go and start putting sheets all over the windows and their own kinds of window coverings. So we do, you know, break the bank and say, okay, we'll get either 1-inch blinds, or these are actually 2-inch Hunter Douglas blinds because there was a sale on that. So I just said, okay, we're going to go a little more high end on this one and get the nice window coverings. These ones come with a warranty. My other ones usually don't come with a warranty. So paid a little bit more to get that warranty. Okay, guys, so this is the upper unit at 762 Colburn Street. Construction's all done now. Similar finishes to the other units here. Same cabinets, same floor choices, same paint, same tile. Similar appliances. We got them scratch and dent type thing. LED lights. We've got some skylights in this unit here as well. And this is that wall where you have minimum light requirements, and they wanted us to pop a window right behind that flag there. And that's when we said, well, if we put in a skylight and had a window in the door, would that work? And they said yes. So that was a big win for us. Originally this plan was like 2 really big bedrooms, then open concept kitchen and living room. And once we saw the plan, the square footage, we knew we could get an extra bedroom in here, so now it's a 3-bedroom. And they still have enough common area for their eating, you know, bar top counter and their TV sitting area, right? So it works. It works.
Man, those renovations are lit. Am I too soon? Or am I right? Let me know in that comment section. Let us know if you're enjoying this video. Now we're going to dive a bit more into the numbers behind this project, because again, what does it cost to rebuild a triplex that burned down? I don't know, but let's find out. All right, now Kory's got the numbers behind this fire triplex, so I'm really excited to dive in. This isn't really a normal BRRRR or normal refinance process, but it's actually really interesting because it kind of covers a lot of the worst case scenarios that a lot of investors stress about at night. But overall, things kind of work out.
Yes, don't use this as a strategy, okay? Yeah, I mean, unfortunately we had a fire. It's actually been 2 years now in the process. But our fire triplex here, the value before it was $450,000, and that was actually probably pretty generous. It was basically a century old, actually it was a 133-year-old triplex that we were basically just kind of like operating on, you know, Band-Aids and lipstick and that kind of stuff. Yeah. We didn't really want to do a full gut job on it. Fire happened. We figured, okay, at that point, if we're getting a check from the insurance company for $320,000 anyways, why don't we look at adding some square footage? So we added 800 square feet to the property at only $100 a square foot. And you know, the total construction cost was around $400,000. New value, $900,000. Here's our old rent roll. So the main floor, which we'll show you guys in a little bit, it was a 3-bedroom, but we were getting low rents because like 1 bedroom was small and 1 bedroom didn't even have a closet and one was like oversized, and yeah, it was just kind of weird, like no laundry in the units. So we put in-suite laundry in all the units, big bedrooms everywhere, big closets, and you know, parking and storage for everybody. Upper unit was only $850. It was a decently sized 1-bedroom, but again, it was tired. And the back unit was a 1-bedroom, but you might as well call it a bachelor. So we always had that hard time. It's like 430 square feet. It's like about the size of a bachelor, even though there's a bedroom. So that was our old rent roll there. Now we're getting like $600 to $650 per bedroom that we're renting. We rent the 2 front units to students. We're actually just getting one it's actually on the market now for re-rental. So two big units there, and then our back unit here that we're standing in is going to be an Airbnb. So it's fully furnished, decorated. Would be a nice space anyways, even if it wasn't beautifully decorated. We're projecting between $2,500 and $3,000 a month for the rear. So if you look at the difference between our rent roll is basically doubled here, which is huge. Yeah. And that's why it's not like we didn't do anything to increase this value. We've had a $450K increase in value because we've legitimately doubled the rent roll. And I think if we look at the expenses, like our heating bill this winter has been like nothing because it's a really high tech hot water heating system here. Yeah. So
yeah, love it. And so just to kind of touch upon the upper, you ended up adding additional bedrooms, is that right?
Yeah, so in the upper it was a 1-bedroom. It was a 1-bedroom here. We added, because we were able to take a steep roof pitch, flatten it out, raise it up, we were able to get a lot of our square footage up there for 2 extra bedrooms. And then back here, this used to be like a small 1-bedroom. now it's got 2 bedrooms in it. So yeah, we basically added 3 bedrooms.
Yeah, this is an amazing space back here. And so what would you kind of think for market rents if you were just renting it out normal? Would this be kind of like, what, 12, maybe 1,400 a month?
1,400. I think we get 1,400 with like the skylights and just some of the cool stuff we did anyways.
Details.
Yeah, we put a big deck on the back.
True, that deck makes a difference.
Big backyard.
Love it.
Privacy. Yeah, so those are the numbers there, gang, and it's one of those things where we never expected this to happen, but once you do, you gotta switch your brain into like creative mode, like, okay, well, how can I add value? How can I strategically add extra square footage because the guys are already here? You know, to extend a wall and make a room a little bit bigger doesn't cost a whole lot of, you know, wood and drywall and paint and those kinds of things, right? So that's when you get the cheaper construction costs. Not like we're starting from scratch with foundations and new square footage. So, but we've had our share of, you know, headaches here. Like this back unit has taken us so long because we got tied up with an archaeological assessment that held us back by like 5 months.
Right.
Just sitting there doing nothing, waiting.
Those kind of wild cards that you can't necessarily predict.
Yeah. Was not fun. But plus we had overages, like the cost of construction went up over the course of 2 years, materials, all those different things. So we actually were able to get the insurance company to say, hey, we'll actually pony in for some of that stuff too because of your situation as well, which helped as well.
Gotcha.
So don't just take the first answer from an insurance company. I mean, they're there to serve you. You are their customer. And if you feel like you have extra costs, like have a conversation about it.
All right, so those are the numbers behind this project. Now let's dive a little bit deeper into exactly what's going on with the insurance process, because that's kind of the elephant in the room, right? How do you make sure the insurance company pays you? You know, how do you make sure you have the right coverage for your insurance? What sort of deductibles do you need? Well, Kory's really going to break down a lot of his experiences, his real life experiences with this fire triplex. All right, so let's sit down and chat a little bit about this fire triplex and the whole insurance process in general. So what does that timeline look like, Kory? Like, you have a fire at your property. I'm assuming within 24 hours, you're talking to your insurance agent.
Yeah, obviously emergency response was the first thing that had to get here, put the fire out, and typically, yeah, my insurance company got the call right away. And I was actually on vacation at the time, so like I turn on my phone, I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, and the text messages start coming in. So I'm like, but again, as a real estate investor, like you just have to have a thick skin. You just let stuff like that slide off you. Some people that would have wrecked their day, week, month, year, but I mean, I just got right into solution orientation mode. Like that's just what you need to do, right? So they came. So their first thing that they need to do is make sure that the property is stabilized. So typically they bring in a restoration company, whether you like it or not, whether you're going to use that restoration company for the whole job. Their first goal is to make sure that they can try to mitigate some of the water and smoke damage.
Right.
So the guys came in, they hooked up external power source and just got some electric furnaces in the building just to keep it above temp so it wouldn't freeze and you get some heaving and stuff like that. So while that was going on, at that point you have a choice typically. Like you can go choose your own contractor from the insurance company, or you can let the insurance company choose their own contractors. I hadn't heard so great stories from having
people that have
them do that, right? Because at the end of the day, they just want to get the job done. It's not their house. They're not having to hold on to it for 10, 20 years. So, you know, the insurance company will give you a budget. So they literally have like a calculator or like a program where they literally plug in every single thing from like, we have to tear apart the window frames on that window over there. That it's like everything's down to the dollar. It's like $3, like whatever, all by linear footage, square footage. Itemized, and it's a great program, and then they just spits out a number. It was like $322,000. And don't just take that as the law, right? Like we actually went right through it, and I was like, oh, they actually missed like 4 or 5 things that were kind of significant. They missed some plaster replacement, and they missed some square footage of siding around the house, and a few other things too. So. And I'm no expert at this either. I'm sure I maybe left a couple things on the table, but at least I double checked it. I find that the insurance company just wants you, like they're aiming for speed and they just want you to sign off on things. It's okay to slow it down a little bit.
Slow the pace.
And make sure, you know, don't drag it out, but like slow it down to say, I need a day to review this and just go, because once you sign off on it, it's pretty much done.
It's done.
So we got the budget, and at that point I was like, I'm going to start looking for my own builders. And I just reached out to my network who's dealt with this before, and I know some friends of mine from St. Thomas have actually done bigger projects and had spoken that they've actually done some work for insurance. So he said, it's too big for me, you got to talk to my friend Jay. So I called Jay, Jay Okersey Construction. he came in. Since he does a lot of insurance work, he literally had the same program. So he was just like re-quoted it, basically same price, and we got him going right away. We did have to wait. Like he's like, I have like a 3-month lead time right now. So really like the electric furnaces were just running, you know, for 3 months, keeping the place warm while we were waiting for him in queue. And I think he brought some guys over, like they started doing a little bit of gut work and that kind of stuff, but they didn't really start going full bore until that was done. So they did 2 units of the construction. We got held up on the back, so we had to wait. And the back unit, this was kind of like a bit of a filler job for them. And over the course of waiting for him, plus we went for extra square footage, so we had a minor variance process we had to go through at City Hall. That dragged things out by another 3 months. The archaeological assessment at the back. So we literally had like 9 months of holdups. But in the end, it's worth it because we have a much bigger, better, well-built house.
Yeah.
You know, so this is something I'm gonna be happy managing for the next 20 years.
And so how does that process all work? Like once you decide to hire your own contractor, are they cutting you a giant check? Is there progress draws?
Good point. So since Scotiabank is on the title, it was like me, my wife, and Scotiabank. So now all of a sudden the checks are getting written out, like all the money went into a bank account at Scotiabank. And they wanted to see all your building estimates from the builder, all that sort of stuff, right? So we had to basically reverse engineer that so the builder's quote was a little bit higher, and we're just going to pay him the difference at the end for the extra square footage. He was totally cool with that. Otherwise, you would have to pay that difference up front.
Oh, okay, I see.
And then the insurance company would cut checks for the rest of it. So yeah, basically they have, I guess, a draw system where once you're past this checkpoint, usually like once it's closed in and watertight, so it'd be like roof, windows, all the framing and stuff's done, that's a draw. Usually once all your utilities are in and it's drywalled, that's another draw, and then once all the finishers are done, that's like a third draw. So we did like 3 or 4 draws.
And so when you're going through the process, is there like certain timelines that like you have to stick to, or like is it a big deal that like say 9 months kind of lapses, like other than obviously lost opportunity cost?
They didn't really give me a hard time about that. And again, I think the most important thing for the audience here is make sure you have a really good insurance provider, because there is, you know, the difference between price and cost. So what something may, like a price is a one-time thing is what I tell people, but then the cost can actually be like ongoing and continue to like beat you down. So make sure you're paying like the right price so that you can get that coverage when you need it. So the one thing that I wish I would have had, which nobody really thought about, right? I had some rental coverage. It was for like our rent roll was $3,000. So I had 4 months of rent, so $12,000. We ripped through that really quick. Like I wish I would have had $30,000 worth of rental coverage. I had $10,000 worth of contents. We definitely went through that with all the appliances that were lost, like, and then some.
Right.
You know, so
those little things you don't really think about until you've experienced it.
yeah, and the coverage is pretty cheap just to have it. So we keep our deductible pretty high. Like all our properties have a $5,000 deductible. Because we're not going to make a claim unless it's major. So we save a bit of money there. Some people want to be able to claim all kinds of things, right? Like, oh, I keep my deductible at 500 or 1,000, so if a window gets broken or this happens or whatever, we just self-insure. Like the small stuff, you just fix it yourself.
Yeah. So now that you've been through this process, did you end up changing any of your insurance coverage on your other buildings? Like, you know, was there anything you learned that made you want to approach insurance differently?
Sometimes I do bump up that rental coverage, that lost rent coverage, but no, like my insurance company is really good. Like we always make sure we have a good replacement value. So always make sure that you have a high enough replacement value number, because building costs are super expensive these days. It's amazing how much it costs to like rebuild something or add square footage on something. So always make sure you have a good limit to your policy. And lots of times if you have multiple properties, you can go to like a mutual or something like that, and they'll give you pay your liability on the properties once, and they spread that out over the course of all your properties. So kind of we're talking pretty high level stuff here, but once you start to acquire more
policy?
It's a commercial policy. So the commercial policy, you typically pay the liability chunk once, and it gets spread out over all the properties. So over time, it actually ends up being better and better for you as a property owner.
And so I'd be curious to get your perspective on this. I've always been a big believer in having like a real relationship with your insurance person. So for myself, I don't actually, like I did in the past, used to go out and get like 3 quotes and like all that when looking at getting new insurance for a building. But these days I really rely on the relationship I have with my existing insurance provider, just because like I can pick up the phone or text him late at night, and he's going to respond because I'm now like giving them so much business. Do you use one insurance provider, or are you like spread out over multiple?
I'm like 80-85% with one provider, and I still have a little bit with another provider. But I think it's important to have that relationship. Refer business to them. Make sure it's not your little secret of who you're using for insurance. Like they want to grow their business too, right? And when it's that reciprocal relationship, sometimes you do have to keep them honest and just say, hey, numbers seem a little bit high. I may have to shop this one. Then sometimes they'll go back, sharpen their pencil, whatever. But I mean, it's good to have that relationship because like literally we just closed on a property yesterday. We picked up the keys. And I called him like on Friday. I was like, oh yeah, remember that property you gave me a quote on? We're closing on it in a couple of days. Can you get that rider ready?
Yeah, those relationships are huge because I often, like I'm guilty of that as well. Like literally there was once where I forgot until the day of and I was like, I need insurance right now, man. And like he was able to quickly expedite the process because again, he had done a quote in the past. So I think it's really important for anyone that's new to real estate investing. Don't just look at getting the lowest cost provider, but make sure it's someone that you really can have a two-way conversation with and you can get to know them, understand them, and as well get them to understand your business model and kind of where you're going as a real estate investor.
Yeah, sometimes you might be paying the same price. Like let's say if insurance on this property is $1,400 a year. The $1,400 at one company might be totally different than the $1,400 at another company. And whoever I work with, whether it's insurance, lawyers, whatever, I'm always asking for their cell phone number, right? So, because it's for your ability just to text them a question sometimes is huge. So you need, paying for that access is very important. Whereas if it's going to go through a 1-800 number and you don't know what junior of the day you're getting at some, I'm not trying to hate on companies, but there's some big companies out there and you don't get the access to the regular person that you want.
100%. Any other tips or suggestions before we wrap up our talk on insurance?
Be organized. So if you're not a numbers person, if you're not a spreadsheet person, recruit someone that can help you throughout the claim because there are going to be lots of moving parts, lots of line items. Naturally, that's actually naturally one of my strengths. But for some people who aren't, it could turn into a nightmare because you're like, I don't know this, and then like the case might be closed, and then like you're going back to the well, and they're gonna be like, sorry, we're done.
Yeah.
So, and don't be afraid to maybe question things or get other opinions. At the end of the day, it's a big loss, and there's emotions involved, and sometimes it's just one person's opinion. So, don't be afraid to like get different opinions for sure.
Love it. All right, we've been talking about the insurance process with kind of the fire that happened at this triplex. What's that look like for your tenants? So what's the process? Do they just move out? Do they have first right of refusal to move back in? Do you like sign an N11? What's that entire process look like, Kory?
Good question, good question. So this was a learning opportunity for me too. So essentially most leases will have that line in the lease where if there's ever like an act of God or something major that happens or insurance companies get involved, that's where we basically push the pause button, we draw a line in the sand, you stop paying rent, and the insurance companies start to figure it out. So at that point, their contents, I always make sure my tenants have contents insurance. I won't let them move in. It's your right as a landlord to make sure that they have proper contents and liability insurance on their units. So I'm glad that I did because now my tenants aren't out because things add up really quickly, like clothes, furniture, all those things. Like you can rack up 10-20 grand very easily in an apartment.
Yeah.
So the rent button got push pause and they got to go somewhere. I mean, hotel, friends, family, and that's the unfortunate part of a fire is it's just like, okay, they get forced into plan B very quickly. They call it their insurance company. Their insurance company brings in an adjuster. So the adjuster comes in. They literally put caution tape on the door, like you can't come in here. Like we've literally got to go in here and try to assess all their contents, and they're going to be asking the tenants for receipts and give us a list of things that you owned, and hopefully they're just going to cut them a check too. Now, unfortunately, what I've found is there's also a lot of theft and a lot of like things like that where some of the contractors, the restoration companies might be like, oh, yeah, we're throwing this stuff in a dumpster, but some of it ends up in their car and they're selling it on Kijiji too, right? So you got to be careful about that. I think it should, if it's still salvageable, the tenant should have the ability to keep it, or it should go to a good cause or whatnot, right? So that was that process. My tenants in the house, 2 of them were totally okay with it, and one of them thought like
Just
literally would
understand
not
the
pick up the phone
process.
with me anymore. Yeah, they were like only texting, only email. I'm like, okay, wow, like things get figured out a lot quicker when you can just pick up the phone.
Yeah.
But she wanted to just have a document, and I'm like, I can understand where you're coming from, but some things we got to talk about. And I actually refused to reply to some of the messages just because I'm like, that's just not how this is going to work. So
Gotcha.
that's not my preferred method of contact.
Yeah.
When I'm literally on the go like you guys, I'm running and gunning all the time. And some of the stuff is just a phone call. So call me.
Cool. Awesome.
Thanks again to Kory for diving so deep into this subject matter, because I can almost guarantee there's not another video out there on YouTube like this. So remember, sharing is caring. If you guys could share this on social media, it really helped me out with the YouTube algorithm. If you guys want to see more Kory MacKinnon, check out this playlist right here. If you guys just want to learn more real estate advice in general, check out this playlist down here. And until next time, remember, making money is a team sport. There's more than enough money in this world for us to all make it, but if you're not saving it, I mean, like, what's the point, guys? Thanks. Bye.